I'm here with my Nordic colleagues from Sweden and Denmark, and I have here Pieter Houslev, CEO of Saminvest in Sweden, and then Ole Hauskov, partner of Vaekstfonden in Denmark, to discuss the topic of developing Nordic VC markets. I think it's fair to give voice to you, Peder and Ole, to shortly introduce who you are and what your respective companies do shortly. If you, Peder, would start and introduce
Yes, thank you
yourself.
very much. My name is Pieter Houslev. I'm the CEO of Saminvest. I have a background as an asset manager for many years. I joined Saminvest in 2017, and Saminvest is a startup because it started in 2017. So we built this organization from scratch. We made 10 ordinary sort of traditional fund investments. We made a number of angel investments, so we're sort of up and running quite well now. We have about 600 million euros in assets, and what might be a bit different from some of our colleagues in Scandinavia is that we focus purely on early stages. We're not into the buyout business as such. That's a healthy market in Sweden that don't need our help.
Okay, thank you, Peder. And Ole, how about you and Vaekstfonden?
Yes, thank you for inviting me here. I'm Ole Hauskov, partner at Vaekstfonden. Vaekstfonden is no longer. I think we don't consider us as a startup anymore, but we are 8 years old, and with 250 people plus, working both with loans for startups, direct investment, direct VC investments, and also fund of funds investment. And I'm a partner in our fund department. We have like 60-70 fund investments, total balance sheets, AUM on the fund side of around 2 billion euro, investing in both VC and buyouts, SMV type of buyouts. I would say that 70% of our investments is related to venture. We also invest with external or have established actually an external fund of funds unit with external investors, DVK 1, 2, and 3. So that was, I think, Vaekstfonden. I've been working with Vaekstfonden for now almost 6 years, and before that, working with SMV growth companies, both an investor, as an investor in ABN Capital and 3i, and also as an advisor.
Thank you, Ole. And shortly about Business Finland Venture Capital. So we started in 2014, and we invest only in early stage VC funds. And we are just 2 guys doing that, me and my colleague Petri. And we have invested in 13 funds, and our commitments altogether today are about 70 million. So we are the smallest of the 3 companies. So we have 2 discussion topics today. So the first is state of the VC market in these 3 countries, and the second topic is the actions we have taken to develop the VC market, or we are potentially taking or needed in the market. And perhaps I start with a graph that we made and sharing a screen to you now. Just a moment. I hope you all can see it. And this graph tells the 5-year VC investment averages in certain European countries and in the US. And you can see that there are Denmark, Finland, and Sweden are present there, and some comparable European countries. What is noticeable that for example, Denmark, Finland, and Ireland are about the same size in population, and the VC investment levels are about the same. Sweden is about double of Finland and Denmark, and let's say 1.5 times in investment levels. But what is remarkable is that we still have a lot of opportunities in Europe. All in all, the US is still a lot bigger market, about, let's say, 12.5 times in investment levels, and per capita even more invested in VC companies. And now we are going to discuss about the observations. This is just setting the scene, observations we have in our countries. I'm stopping the share now. And what are the key observations in your countries, and how has the market developed over time, and what has developed well, and what are the areas of that need more support from you and other players in the market? And perhaps you could also describe your roles in the market. What's your task? Perhaps we should start in the same order. If Peder starts from Sweden, and then we go to Denmark and Ole.
A couple of observations then on the market, and I would say that there are some. I mean, I would say, generally speaking, I think the tech market is doing quite well compared to the past. I mean, it's obviously a consequence of you know, financial markets and liquidity in financial markets in general. It spills over. But then within, I would say, within tech, I would say that the early stages still have problems. The early stages, because they are still fairly local and they don't get the sort of, you know, big access until they reach a certain size. And in some ways, part of the growth segment also is still in need of help. That's the picture I have. Then I would say that then you have, you know, the deep tech part, you know, lots of money and long development times is still not having an easy time in many ways. And then I would say, apart from the tech market, still some challenges within life sciences. That's maybe beside the topic, but those are a couple of remarks from the Swedish point of view.
And Peder, your role is to invest in VC funds. Do you invest directly in companies as well?
No, we don't. That's new. We have we do have two operations that we are dismantling. We are in a runoff with our direct portfolio. So in the future, we will have no direct investments, and we will purely concentrate on VC funds, growth funds, and of course our cooperation that we have with the top Swedish incubators, with some angel funds and also with individual angels, but we might come back to that. So that's what we're trying to do. But what we're trying to do now is basically we are very much focusing on the early stages that are more in need of help than some other sectors.
Yeah. Perhaps you could also describe you are the anchor investor in the Swedish early stage funds, yes. and how's the LP market otherwise? The private sector LPs, are they also
okay, but I would have expected it to maybe be a bit more buoyant. This is a personal view and observation, but I get the impression that the liquidity means that family offices and a few other sort of more non-traditional players, they go into the VC market and they invest in companies, but it doesn't really help the funds so much to launch. They're still struggling to find LPs, especially the emerging teams. They are stuck with this conundrum of not having a track record and so on. So we are doing quite a lot of work with the emerging teams that are still struggling and haven't yet benefited from this sort of liquidity ample world that we live in.
Okay, thank you, Peder. How about Ole? and Denmark, if we take a quick round and then discuss about the topics.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt that Sweden is quite mature on investments, VC investments, more mature than Denmark. We have focused, I guess, the last 10 years on making just like Peder, making investments in sort of early stage, what we call seeds, pre-Series A, Series A type of funds. Try to focus on that segment. We are at a point where actually a number of new funds have been raised recently, and also you see a number of foreign funds entering the market, which for us is positive. We're trying to support sort of the accelerator level, but also the business angels, because we actually see many business angels investing in sort of the early stage, and try to sort of further educate them and sort of try to form BA consortiums, is something which have developed over the last couple of years, amongst others Danban, who has developed quite strongly. And also, I agree with Peder that where there is a lack currently is growth funding, and that's good for sort of the industry, because that means that you actually see startups growing out of Series A, requiring Series B, Series C funding, which are large funding rounds, and we also see more and more of our seed funds and Series A type of funds raising follow-on funds for rounds, for their pro rata rounds on Series A and seed capital. So I think that's quite interesting that they're moving out of the Series A into the more mature market, and then obviously COVID have changed the world quite significantly, and we have also taken a number of initiatives. We have taken the steps to sort of approve a number of business angels and a number of VC funds to be able to actually match their equity investments with loans during the COVID-19, and one common thing for all of the companies is that they should be hit by COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. So you're also providing loans to VC-backed and business angel-backed companies.
Yeah. But actually based on the approval of the business angel and of the VC fund. So it's not a matter that we sort of do a creditworthiness check on the company, but we do a check on the business angel and on the VC fund.
Yeah. And that is interesting. And one interesting topic is also the business angel investing alongside the early stage VC funds. But perhaps we first take the growth stage first, which came up from both of you. So Ole mentioned that there's a lack of growth financing. What do you think is behind that? Is it the lack of the growth VCs or lack of the ability to attract growth financing from the companies or VCs, or both?
I don't know. I think there is from a Swedish perspective, I think competition from buyout funds is quite large, which means that a lot of LPs, they prefer to go into the buyout thing because it's more established in Sweden. And I think, so or you come from the buyout side, or you come from the VC side. And for the VC side, these are big tickets, and we have problems in getting, critical sized funds. And in order to get that much money, you need to be a team that has quite a lot of experience, and I don't find that many teams have that in Sweden. So it's a question of supply of teams and competition from the buyout side, Those are my sort of best guesses. It doesn't really fit into anyone, not in buyout and not in venture, for whatever it's worth.
Okay, yeah. Ole, do you have a comment on this?
Yes, you're absolutely right, Peter. I think traditionally growth funds has actually come out of the US. You have not seen many earlier European unicorns. I think that is changing quite dramatically. You see a number of European unicorns. Spotify is a good example. Trustpilot is a good example. Europe can actually build unicorns on our own grounds, and you also see European funds now raising growth funds, and that's something which I guess did not happen before. EQT Ventures have. We late last week invested in a not yet published growth fund from a UK-based investor. So these funds are coming now, and that's to seek the demand of Series B, Series C capital in Europe, because companies are actually demonstrating that that you can build unicorns in Europe, and you don't necessarily need to do it going to the US and move your head office to the US.
Okay, thank you. From Finland, I can say that there's been a very positive growth of the VC market in recent years. So from 2014, when we started, until the end of last year, the market has grown about 4 times, VC investment market, and it's mainly due to the later stage investments, and also the non-Finnish international VCs and other investors willing to invest in Finnish companies that have entered the later stage. So very positive looking at that, and to me it tells that, sorry, my dogs are barking there, I'm in a home office.
I'm happy to hear that it is your dog.
Yeah. So to me it appears that the market has matured, and so
is in the process of maturing.
Is in process of maturing, yeah. And it also creates another thing, is that as we need more early stage capital and more early stage players, meaning VCs and other early stage investors, to be able to provide as much companies to the later stages in the future as well. I don't know, how do you see that? Have you seen the foreign investors entering, investing in your countries? Have any comment on that?
Yeah, I can start. As I just briefly mentioned before, we see a number of foreign investors investing. We also do things to attract them. We try to identify foreign funds which sort of have included Denmark in the investment strategy, and we would like to invest in these funds should they be present in the Danish ecosystem, should they want to do Danish investments, do they have a Danish track record. So that's something which when we do the investments really are focused on, making sort of a Danish angle due diligence, and by investing, sort of be able to sort of attract them to make investments in Denmark, and that's sort of both sort of in the early stage segment where we have established, for example, Rockstart AgriFood, which is an accelerator with an investment vehicle on top, coming out of Holland, established in Denmark. One good example. And sort of pre-seed capital, which is a completely Danish vehicle, but which is investing in the pre-seed, and we do exactly the same as Peder and you do, Esko, acting as an anchor investor in these initiatives. But also trying to attract maybe U.S. funds. We have been investors in a U.S. deep tech, hard tech fund, an activity where there are not many investors. Acme has a Danish partner called Christian Tang, and we have actually invested in that fund in order to be able to attract them to Denmark, and they have actually also made a Danish investment. So that's important to us.
I think for non-domestic investors are present in the Swedish market to a larger extent now than before. And our general approach to non-domestics is that they're extremely welcome. I mean, we are perfectly well allowed to invest in non-domestic funds as long as there's certain ties to the local market, obviously. And but what we do hope, of course, is that the type of non-domestic investors will allow companies to the greatest possible extent to develop locally, at least partly locally. So obviously with the owners we are interested to see companies thrive in Sweden or in the Nordics. And I could say, by the way, we consider Nordic countries our home market, basically. We generally encourage funds that come to us to have a Nordic scope rather than a purely Swedish scope, because Sweden is too small.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we are welcoming and open-minded, but obviously we have an agenda, which is that we hope that the companies will stay as long as possible in our region. That's the way it is.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have about 5 minutes left or so. Is that so? So I think that one topic is still to be discussed. We touched that already. Is the developing the markets, and what kind of actions you have taken or planning to take to further develop the markets. And maybe we should do a round about that.
Yeah, I can start if it's okay with you all. I mean, first of all, we do what we all do, and I guess, and that's encouraging new teams and emerging teams and trying to support them not only with money but basically also with some coaching and stuff like that. We spend quite a lot of time doing that, actually, and also the funds that are not sort of making it. We have as a policy to give them feedback in such a way that they can make a sort of new comeback and make another try, whatever, 6 months time or something like that. That's part of it. But the thing I think maybe we are mostly proud of in many ways is that we have established a cooperation with the top Swedish incubators, and they have in the incubator program, there are funds linked to that, and we are sort of matching those investments. But moreover, we are also then trying to tie up the best local angels. So we have a deal with them that we co-invest with them. So when a specific angel goes in and makes a follow-on investment in a company that is in an incubator fund, then we invest the same amount, and it is the angel who has all the sort of power of voting, etc., etc. So we are really tying ourselves too close to the angel. And I think that is and one of the good things we hope for. Let's see if time will tell, but that is that hopefully if you stimulate a number of promising and professional angels in Sweden, wherever it is, we also will affect positively the supply of fund managers in the future. But again, time will tell, but that's part of the plan, and maybe I can give you some comment on that in a few years. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. Very important. And when we discussed with Ole earlier, so you had some great experiences or started some interaction with for example, in the US to learn and share your learnings to the market. Perhaps you could tell something about that.
Yep, sure. On top of what Peter said, that's also what we're doing. Angels, we think is really, really important. What we also try to do is to get closer to Silicon Valley. We have established a strong partnership with Silicon Valley Bank, who has actually ended out in that they have established a branch in Denmark, also covering the Nordic areas. But we wanted to establish a Denmark bridge, which is intended to make it easier for startups, but also Danish large corporates like Lego, Novo Nordisk, Maersk to look into new disruptive and innovative technologies in the valley. And we do that sort of by way of entering into a partnership with SVB, but also by way of doing investments in US funds. ACMA is an example, as I mentioned, and we do that because we want to gain knowledge, know-how on how these funds are investing and what they are investing in. Another example is a fund called Innovation Endeavors, which is founded by former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, and they invest in transformation technologies and emerging ecosystems, and that's important for us to learn from those experiences, and maybe we can even attract them to the Nordic, where they then could potentially look into an investment. So I guess that's what we're trying to sort of develop out of our region, and try to understand what's happening also in the valley to get acquainted and to get networked and help our startups to establish themselves and grow in the US.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you are investing in the US funds, and on the other hand, you get investments from the US to the Danish companies, and all you are learning and building networks. So in Finland, I think you mentioned some important things you are doing in Sweden, Peder, and in Finland, I think we are more and more doing like a network job here. So doing things together with other participants, for example, the governmental agencies and companies, and together with universities, and trying to dig into certain theme areas and find what is needed there. Is early stage investing needed in that theme area or sector? And when we are discussing with those players, so perhaps we find potential fund managers in that area. I think that's something else we also do, and that's in our plans to do more that way. I think we were very successful in successful start in health area in doing that. So playing together and not just ourselves. But I think are we up? I think we could discuss until tomorrow, but
yeah, absolutely.
So please.
An excellent discussion, and as Esko knows from as a personal interest, discussing all those themes, the angel support and the work that you've been doing, more or less supporting different kind of levels and bridging those gaps. That has been definitely a big importance. Just Finland alone, and just the big shift from Finland 5 years ago from shifting from direct investments to doing and supporting in the fund. So going later on, and definitely angel is a big part of the ecosystem. So we're looking forward to hear exciting news. And maybe as a personal introduction, as we have Nordic Ninja, the local international fund of Japanese money being implemented in not in Finland, but it's in the Nordics. And the main request, more or less, for these kind of international funding to join in was that having this kind of just mapping the Nordics, highlighting that in English. That kind of information was a bit tricky because it's more the outsiders are looking at the Nordics, not just the single countries. So very exciting, but excellent job so far, and we're looking forward to hear more.
Okay, great. So I thank you, Peder and Ole, for the discussion, and we can also agree that we can continue our discussion later on in some other event, and start from there where we stop now. And I don't know if there were any questions addressed to us. So
far plenty, but I think we're more or less happy to once again use the deal room matchmaking. So if there's more or less the possibility to interact and link with you directly, that would be one. But so far, we're gonna move on to the next category of the steps.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.